20. Black actors whose deaths were most shocking. They were icons, legends, and rising stars. Then suddenly they were gone. From Whitney Houston's haunting final hours to Tupac and Biggie's unsolved shadows, from Chadwick Boseman's private cancer battle to Aaliyah's fatal plane crash, these black stars left the world in ways fans still struggle to accept. Stay with us, because behind every shocking death is a story of fame, pressure, pain, and unfinished greatness. Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston was born into music before the world ever knew her name. Raised in Newark, New Jersey, she grew up surrounded by powerful voices, church choirs, and a family already connected to soul and gospel. Her mother, Cissy Houston, was a respected singer, and Whitney learned early that a voice could be more than sound. It could be prayer. It could be power. It could be escape. When Whitney stepped into the spotlight, she did not simply become famous. She became a standard. Her 1985 debut album turned her into a global superstar, and songs like How Will I Know and Greatest Love of All showed a voice that seemed almost impossible in its control. Then came The Bodyguard and I Will Always Love You, became more than a hit. It stayed at #1 for 14 weeks and became one of the most unforgettable vocal performances in pop history. Whitney was not just singing notes. She was lifting emotions out of people. How does a voice that powerful still sound so lonely underneath? Behind the applause, however, Whitney's life became painfully complicated. The pressure of fame, her turbulent marriage to Bobbi Brown, and substance abuse slowly changed the public image that once seemed untouchable. People watched her voice, appearance, and spirit become the subject of cruel jokes and tabloid obsession. The world that once worshipped her also judged her harshly when she struggled. On February 11, 2012, Whitney Houston was found dead in a bathtub at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. She was only 48 years old. Her death was ruled an accidental drowning, with heart disease and cocaine use listed as contributing factors. The tragedy felt unbearable because fans knew she had once seemed ready for a comeback. Whitney left behind more than records. She left behind a question that still hurts. Did the world love her voice more than it protected the woman behind it? Tupac Shakur. Tupac Shakur was born into struggle before he ever became a symbol of it. Raised in a family shaped by activism, pain, and survival, he grew up understanding that black life in America could be beautiful and brutal at the same time. His mother, Afeni Shakur, had been connected to the Black Panther movement, so Tupac was not raised to be silent. He was raised around ideas, resistance, poetry, and the belief that a voice could challenge the world. Before the fame, Tupac was a student of performance. He studied acting, dance, and poetry, and that artistic foundation made him different from many rappers of his era. When he entered hip-hop, he did not sound like someone simply chasing records. He sounded like a young man carrying a nation's anger in his chest. His debut album, Tupacalypse Now, introduced a rapper willing to speak about police brutality, poverty, teenage pregnancy, and broken systems. Songs like Brenda's Got a Baby proved he could turn social tragedy into storytelling that felt painfully human. Then came the explosion. Albums like Me Against the World and All Eyes on Me made Tupac one of the most influential artists alive. He could be political, tender, furious, reckless, spiritual, and wounded, sometimes all in the same song. As an actor, he brought that same electricity to Juice, Poetic Justice, and Above the Rim. Was Tupac dangerous because of what he said, or because so much of it was true? But fame surrounded him with conflict. The East Coast and West Coast rivalry grew darker, and Tupac became one of its most visible faces. On September 7, 1996, he was shot in Las Vegas after a Mike Tyson fight. 6 days later, he died at only 25. His death did not silence him. It made his voice feel even louder, like a warning the world still has not fully answered. The Notorious B.I.G. The Notorious B.I.G. came from Brooklyn with a voice that sounded like the streets had learned how to rhyme. Born Christopher Wallace, he grew up in Bedford-Stuyvesant, where ambition and danger often lived on the same block. He was sharp, observant, and gifted with language long before fame found him. What made Biggie special was not only his flow, it was the way he could make a listener see everything: the apartment, the corner, the money, the fear, the hunger, and the dream. His career moved fast because his talent was impossible to ignore. With Ready to Die, Biggie gave hip-hop one of its defining debuts. Juicy told the story of poverty turning into possibility, and it became an anthem for anyone who had ever imagined escaping their circumstances. Big Papa showed another side: smooth, charismatic, playful, and built for radio without losing authenticity. Biggie could tell brutal street stories and then glide into a party record like both worlds belonged to him. He became the face of East Coast rap at a time when hip-hop was expanding into a massive cultural force. His writing was cinematic. His delivery was relaxed, but deadly precise. He made complexity sound effortless. How can someone sound so calm while describing a world so dangerous? But Biggie's rise happened inside a storm. The East Coast and West Coast feud had become more than music. After Tupac's death, the atmosphere around hip-hop felt tense, suspicious, and unstable. On March 9, 1997, Biggie was leaving a party in Los Angeles when gunmen opened fire on his SUV. He was only 24. His second album, Life After Death, came out just weeks later, making the title feel painfully prophetic. Biggie's life ended before the world could see how far his storytelling might go. Yet his influence remains enormous. He did not need decades to become immortal. He needed a voice, a pen, and a truth people still replay. Aaliyah. Aaliyah entered the world with a quiet kind of star power. Born in Brooklyn and raised in Detroit, she carried herself with a smoothness that never felt forced. Even as a teenager, she did not seem desperate to be seen. She had mystery, softness, confidence, and control. Her name meant highest, most exalted, and somehow from the beginning, it felt like she was moving towards something rare. Her debut album, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, arrived when she was only 15, and suddenly the industry had a new young voice to watch. But it was one in a million that truly changed her place in music. Working with Timbaland and Missy Elliott, Aaliyah helped shape a futuristic R&B sound that felt cool, minimal, and ahead of its time. Her voice did not overpower the beat. It floated through it. Songs like If Your Girl Only Knew and One in a Million made her feel like the future had arrived early. She also became a fashion influence without seeming to try. The baggy pants, crop tops, sunglasses, and hair across one eye became part of her signature. She could be tomboyish and feminine, distant and warm, young and mature all at once. How does someone become iconic before they even reach 23? Then acting opened another door. In Romeo Must Die, she showed natural screen presence, and her casting in The Matrix sequels suggested that Hollywood was preparing to expand her image even further. Everything seemed ready for the next chapter. But on August 25, 2001, after filming a music video in the Bahamas, Aaliyah died in a plane crash. She was only 22. The small aircraft went down shortly after takeoff, and everyone on board was killed. Her death felt impossible because she had not even reached her peak. Aaliyah remains frozen in memory as elegance, promise, and a future stolen mid-flight. Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick Boseman was born in South Carolina, far from the global spotlight that would one day surround him. Before fame, he was a student of story. At Howard University, he studied directing and learned to think not only like an actor, but like a builder of meaning. He understood that performance could honor history, challenge stereotypes, and give people a mirror they had been denied for too long. His rise came through discipline, not noise. In 42, he became Jackie Robinson, carrying the quiet fury and dignity of a man who broke baseball's color barrier. In Get On Up, he transformed into James Brown, capturing the rhythm, sweat, ego, and electricity of the godfather of soul. In Marshall, he portrayed Thurgood Marshall with intelligence and command. Each role showed that Chadwick could carry real black history without making it feel distant or museum-like. Then came Black Panther. As T'Challa, Chadwick did more than play a superhero. He gave millions of people an image of black royalty, power, intelligence, and grace. Wakanda became more than a fictional kingdom. It became a cultural moment. Children crossed their arms in pride. Adults walked out of theaters with tears. Chadwick understood the weight of that role, and he carried it with calm authority. How many actors can make a fictional king feel like a real ancestor? Behind that strength, he was fighting colon cancer in private. Diagnosed in 2016, he kept working through surgeries, treatment, exhaustion, and pain. Fans saw premieres, interviews, action scenes, and awards attention. They did not see the battle behind the body. On August 28, 2020, Chadwick died at 43. The shock was overwhelming because the world realized he had been giving so much while suffering quietly. His final lesson was not only about talent, it was about purpose. He became a hero on screen, but his real courage was hidden in plain sight. Erica Ashe. Erica Ashe was born in Florida, but her life never stayed inside one small box. She grew up with disciplined curiosity and a personality that seemed built for movement. Before acting became her main path, she explored modeling and performance, slowly finding the place where her sharp mind, beauty voice, and comic instinct could all work together. Erica was not the kind of performer who needed to force attention. She entered a scene and changed its temperature. Her career showed rare flexibility. On Mayday TV, she proved she could disappear into characters' impressions and fast-moving sketches with fearless energy. Comedy can expose weakness quickly, but Erica had timing, courage, and control. She could be outrageous without losing intelligence. Then she showed another side in Survivor's Remorse, playing M. Chuck, a woman full of fire, pain, loyalty, and emotional complexity. That role made it clear she was not only funny. She could carry hurt under the surface and make it feel real. She also appeared in Real Husbands of Hollywood, where her chemistry with Kevin Hart gave viewers laughter, attitude, and quick exchanges. In Contempt, she stepped into legal drama as a public defender, proving again that she had range far beyond sketch comedy. Why do some performers get fully appreciated only after they are gone? Behind the work, Erica faced cancer privately. Her family did not turn her illness into a public spectacle, and that privacy says something about how she lived. She gave audiences energy, but kept parts of herself protected. On July 29, 2024, Erica Ashe died at only 46. The loss felt especially cruel because her career still had room to expand. Erica left behind laughter, strength, and unfinished possibility. She was glamorous, bold, funny, vulnerable, and sharper than many people realized. Her death was shocking, but her legacy is not only sadness. It is the reminder that some lights do not need decades to leave a mark. Chance Perdomo. Chance Perdomo's life carried two worlds inside it. Born in Los Angeles and raised in Southampton, England, he grew up with a blend of cultures that gave him a unique presence. He had charm, intelligence, and a calm confidence that made him stand out before he ever became widely known. Chance did not feel like an actor manufactured by fame. He felt like someone still discovering how much power he had. His breakthrough came with Killed by My Debt, a BBC drama built around a serious social issue. That role showed he could handle emotional weight, not just style. But global attention arrived when he played Ambrose Spellman in Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Ambrose could have been just a mysterious side character, but Chance made him memorable. He gave the role wit, patience, sensuality, wisdom, and hidden loneliness. Fans connected with him because he seemed older than his years, but still playful. Then came Gen V, where he played Andre Anderson, a young superhero dealing with power, family pressure, and moral confusion. The show was dark, sharp, and chaotic, but Chance held his place in it. He was entering a new phase, the kind where a young actor begins turning promise into real industry power. How do you mourn a future that had only just begun? On March 29, 2024, Chance died in a motorcycle accident. He was only 27. The shock came not only from his age, but from the timing. He was not fading. He was rising. His colleagues spoke of warmth, humor, and family-like bonds on set. Fans remembered not just his roles, but the possibility they represented. Chance Perdomo left behind a small but meaningful body of work. His tragedy is the silence after the opening note, the feeling that the song had barely started. He did not have decades, but he had enough time to be unforgettable. Chino XL. Chino XL was born Derek Keith Barbosa, and from the beginning, words seemed to be his natural weapon. He came from a world where language could be survival armor, confession, and attack all at once. Chino was not built like a rapper chasing easy hooks. He was a lyricist who treated every line like a puzzle, every verse like a battlefield, and every rhyme like something that had to earn its place. His reputation grew because he was fearless with the pen. He packed his lyrics with references, dark humor, pain, rage, and intelligence. Songs like No Complex and Creep showed how deeply he could dig into personal and uncomfortable territory. Chino did not make music that asked to be played quietly in the background. His work demanded attention. You had to listen closely because the next line might cut in a way you did not expect. He was also remembered for his feud with Tupac Shakur, a clash that became part of hip-hop history. But reducing Chino to beef would be unfair. His real legacy was technical skill. Even artists who did not share his style had to respect how serious he was about the craft. What happens when the strongest voice in the room is still carrying pain no one can see? In later years, Chino continued to create, collaborate, and speak through music, but private struggles weighed heavily. His death in July 2024 stunned fans who knew him as sharp, intense, and unbreakable on the mic. He was 50 years old. Reports described his passing as suicide, a reminder that mental health battles can hide behind talent, humor, and public strength. Chino XL's story should not be reduced to how it ended. He was a writer, fighter, craftsman, and one of hip-hop's most respected lyricists. His words remain because he built them to last. Mandisa. Mandisa grew up with a voice shaped by faith before fame ever found her. Born Mandisa Lynn Hundley in California, she came from church music choirs and a tradition where singing was more than performance. It was testimony. Her voice had size but also warmth. It could fill a room, but it could also comfort someone sitting alone in pain. America first met her on American Idol in 2006. She did not win the season, but winning was never the full measure of her impact. Mandisa stood out because she sang with conviction. She carried confidence without arrogance and joy without pretending life was easy. Viewers connected with her not only because of her vocals, but because of the spirit behind them. After Idol, she built a strong career in Christian music. Songs like Overcomer and Good Morning became anthems for listeners, trying to keep going through grief, illness, depression, insecurity, or disappointment. Her music did not simply say life was bright. It said people could survive the dark. That difference mattered. She later won a Grammy, proving that her platform had become more than a talent show memory. How many singers make you feel like they are praying with you, not performing at you, behind the uplifting songs? Mandisa had her own struggles. She spoke openly at times about emotional battles, body image, and difficult seasons. Her honesty made fans love her more because it showed she was not selling perfection. She was walking through life with them. On April 18, 2024, Mandisa was found dead at her home in Nashville. She was 47. Her death was later linked to complications from Class 3 obesity. The news hurt because so many people associated her with encouragement and resilience. Mandisa's legacy is not only her voice, it is the comfort she gave. She reminded people that faith can sing loudly even when the body, mind, and heart are tired. Lloyd Avery II. Lloyd Avery II was born in Los Angeles, in a city where movies and street life can exist only a few miles apart, but feel like different worlds. He came from Baldwin Hills, a middle-class neighborhood, and entered acting with a look that could hold danger on screen. He had intensity, stillness, and a face that directors could use to create tension immediately. His most remembered role came in John Singleton's Boys and the Hood. Though his part as Knucklehead number 2 was small, it became unforgettable because of what the film represented. Boys in the Hood was not just a crime drama. It was a portrait of South Central Los Angeles young black manhood, survival, violence, friendship, and loss. Lloyd's presence added menace to a story already heavy with warning. A few seconds of screen time were enough to make audiences remember him. He later appeared in Poetic Justice, sharing space in a film connected to major black cultural figures like Janet Jackson and Tupac Shakur. For a while, It seemed Lloyd could continue building a career playing tough, intense characters. What happens when the darkness an actor portrays begins to follow him off-screen? The tragedy of Lloyd Avery's life is that the line between performance and reality began to collapse. He became involved in criminal activity, and in 2001 he was convicted of double murder connected to 2 killings from 1999. A man who once acted inside fictional stories of street violence was now serving a life sentence for real violence. His end was brutal. On September 4, 2005, Lloyd Avery II was killed in prison by his cellmate. He was 36 years old. His story is not one to glamorize. It is a cautionary chapter about talent, environment, choices, and consequences. Lloyd's career had promise, but promise alone cannot save a person from destruction. His life reminds viewers that Hollywood can capture danger on camera, but real danger leaves no room for retakes. Young Dolph. Young Dolph was Memphis in human form. Born Adolph Robert Thornton Jr., he carried the city in his voice, his confidence, and his loyalty. His early life was shaped by street realities, family responsibility, and the need to build something from the ground up. He did not sound like an artist invented in a boardroom. He sounded like someone who had lived every line before recording it. His rise came through mixtapes, independence, and a refusal to surrender control. Young Dolph built his own lane with deep vocals, direct lyrics, and a southern sharpness that made him instantly recognizable. Albums like King of Memphis and Rich Slave showed his growth while keeping his roots visible. He rapped about money, survival, loyalty, enemies, and family. But what separated him from many others was his commitment to ownership. He was proud of being independent and controlling his music. That independence became part of his brand. Fans respected him because he did not appear to be begging the industry for approval. He moved like a businessman, a survivor, and a neighborhood figure all at once. Is success more powerful when an artist owns the road he walks on? But young Dolph's life was never far from danger. His name was tied to rivalries and threats, yet he kept returning to Memphis. He gave back to the community, supported family, and stayed connected to the places that raised him. That connection made his death even more painful. On November 17, 2021, young Dolph was shot and killed at Makeda's Homemade Butter Cookies in Memphis, a place he visited often. He had gone there to buy cookies for his mother. He was 36 years old. The detail made the tragedy feel even heavier, a son doing something ordinary in his own city, taken in a violent moment. Young Dolph's legacy is independence, loyalty, and a voice that never sounded borrowed. He did not just rap Memphis, he carried it. Nipsey Hussle. Nipsey Hussle was born Ermias Joseph Asghedom in Los Angeles, and his life became a map of transformation. He came from Crenshaw, a place often described through struggle, but Nipsey saw more than hardship. He saw possibility. He understood the streets, but he also understood ownership, education, discipline, and long-term vision. That made him different from the beginning. His music came from lived experience, but it was never only about survival. Mixtapes like Bullets Ain't Got No Name built his reputation as a serious rapper with a sharp mind. He spoke about gang life, poverty, hustling, loyalty, and ambition, but always with a sense that the story should lead somewhere. Nipsey was not content to describe the problem. He wanted to build answers. His album Victory Lap became the clearest statement of that mission. It earned a Grammy nomination and showed the world a rapper who had turned independence into philosophy. He did not just want wealth, he wanted assets. He wanted businesses. He wanted the neighborhood to own, learn, and grow. What if the most dangerous rapper is the one teaching people how to build? His marathon store became more than a business. It was a symbol of black ownership in the same community that raised him. Nipsey invested in local spaces, supported young people, and spoke about technology, economics, and self-determination in a way that made fans feel he was planning decades ahead. On March 31, 2019, Nipsey was shot and killed outside that store. He was 33. The location made the tragedy almost unbearable. He died in front of a place built to represent progress. Nipsey Hussle's death shocked the world because it felt like more than a rapper was lost. A blueprint was interrupted. His legacy remains in music, business, community work, and the phrase that became a promise The marathon continues. Rich Homie Quen. Rich Homie Quen came from Atlanta, a city that has shaped entire eras of hip-hop. Born DeQuantas Devontae Lamar, he grew up in a musical environment where Melody Street storytelling and emotional honesty were becoming powerful tools. He had a voice that did not fit the old hard-edged mold. It bent, stretched, and carried feeling. That made him stand out. His breakthrough came with Type of Way, a song that turned emotion into a phrase everyone could repeat. It was catchy, but it also had real mood beneath it. Then Flex pushed him even further into mainstream attention. Rich Homie Quen belonged to a new Atlanta wave where rapping and singing blended naturally. His music could work in clubs, cars, headphones, and moments when listeners wanted something personal. He also became known through collaborations and mixtapes that built a loyal fan base. Fans connected with his ability to sound confident and wounded at the same time. He could celebrate success, but there was always a trace of struggle in his voice. Why do the most melodic voices sometimes carry the heaviest sadness? As his career continued, he faced the pressure that comes with early success. The music industry moves fast, and artists who rise quickly often have to fight to stay centered. Rich Homie Quen remained active, still creating and still loved by fans who remembered how strongly his sound shaped the 2010s. On September 5, 2024, he was found dead at his home in Atlanta. He was 34. His death was later ruled an accidental overdose involving multiple substances. The news hit hard because he was still young, still recognizable, still tied to a sound that had not faded from memory. Rich Homie Quen's story is one of melody, momentum, and a life interrupted. He gave Atlanta another unmistakable voice, and that voice still echoes through a generation that grew up repeating his hooks. DMX. DMX was born Earl Simmons, and from the beginning his life seemed to wrestle with pain. Raised in Yonkers, New York, he endured hardship that would later pour through his music like fire. His voice sounded wounded before it sounded famous. Rough, urgent, spiritual, angry, and pleading. It became one of the most recognizable sounds hip-hop had ever heard. When It's Dark and Hell is Hot arrived in 1998, DMX did not simply enter rap. He crashed through the door. The album debuted at #1, and songs like Rough Riders Anthem and Get At Me Dog turned him into a force. But what made DMX different was not only aggression. He could move from barking fury to prayer in seconds. He rapped about demons, faith, survival, guilt, love, and redemption like someone fighting in public with his soul exposed. Hollywood noticed that intensity too. In films like Belly and Romeo Must Die, he brought a magnetic roughness to the screen. He did not act polished. He acted present. Every time he appeared, you felt him. Was DMX's greatest gift, also the wound he could never hide. But addiction followed him for much of his life. His struggles were public, painful, and repeated. Fans rooted for him because they saw a man who wanted peace, but kept being pulled back into darkness. His music made those battles feel honest, but honesty did not make them easy to survive. In 2021, DMX suffered a heart attack after an apparent overdose and was hospitalized in critical condition. He died on April 9, 2021 at 50. He left behind children, fans, prayers, and a catalog full of raw truth. DMX's death hurt because he had always sounded like a man trying to reach God while running from pain. His voice is gone, but the struggle inside it still speaks. Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke was born in Mississippi and raised in Chicago, where gospel music became the foundation of his life. Before he became a soul legend, he was a church voice, a young man shaped by spiritual singing and community. His smooth tenor carried something rare: elegance without distance, sweetness without weakness, and control that made even a simple phrase feel eternal. He first gained attention with the Soul Stirrers, one of gospel's most respected groups. But Sam wanted to cross into popular music, a move that was risky for a gospel singer at the time. When he released You Send Me the Risk, became history. The song made him a star. From there, he built a catalog filled with charm, romance, and social depth. Wonderful World showed his easy warmth, while later songs revealed a deeper consciousness. Sam was not only a singer, he was a businessman. He started his own label and publishing company, demanding control in an industry that often exploited black artists. That made him a pioneer, not just a performer. He understood that owning the music mattered as much as singing it. What kind of courage does it take to own your voice in a world trying to own you? His death remains one of music's most debated tragedies. On December 11, 1964, Sam Cooke was shot and killed at the Hacienda Motel in Los Angeles by the motel manager who claimed self-defense. The official account has been questioned for decades by fans, writers, and people who never believed the story fully explained what happened. Sam was only 33. He died at a time when his music business power and social voice were still growing. His loss left behind suspicion, grief, and a sense of history interrupted. Sam Cooke's legacy remains vast. He helped bridge gospel and soul, opened doors for black ownership, and gave the world a voice so smooth it still sounds alive. Jam Master Jay. Jam Master Jay was born Jason Mizell in Brooklyn, and his life became tied to the rise of hip-hop itself. Before rap was a global business, before stadium tours and billion-dollar brands, there were DJs shaping sound with turntables, hands, timing, and instinct. Jay belonged to that foundation. He understood that the DJ was not background. The DJ was the engine. As part of Run DMC, Jam Master Jay helped change music history. Run and DMC brought the rhymes, but Jay gave the records their structure, force, and movement. The group's fusion of rap and rock, especially through Walk This Way with Aerosmith, opened hip-hop to audiences who had not been paying attention. Albums like King of Rock and Raising Hell proved that rap could be powerful, commercial, rebellious, and culturally dominant. Jay's turntable work gave Run DMC its heartbeat. He stood behind the decks with calm authority, making the music feel bigger without needing to be the loudest voice. He also helped younger artists, using his position to support the next generation. How many legends stand in the back while holding the whole sound together? On October 30, 2002, Jam Master Jay was shot and killed inside his recording studio in Hollis, Queens. He was 37. The setting made the loss even more painful. He died in a place built for music creation, mentoring, and community. For nearly 2 decades, the case remained unresolved, frustrating fans and family who wanted answers. His death was more than the loss of a DJ. It was a wound to hip-hop's foundation. Run DMC had helped make the culture global, and Jay's killing reminded people that fame did not always protect the pioneers who built the movement. Jam Master Jay's legacy lives in every DJ treated as a central force, every rap-rock fusion that followed, and every artist who understands that hip-hop was built by hands as much as voices. Bobbi Kristina Brown. Bobbi Kristina Brown was born into fame before she could choose anything for herself. As the daughter of Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown, she entered the world surrounded by cameras, headlines, music, royalty, and public expectation. Her childhood had privilege, but it also carried pressure most people could never understand. To the world, she was not just a child. She was Whitney's daughter. Growing up under that shadow meant every part of her life was watched. She appeared in reality television and showed interest in music and entertainment. But it was difficult for people to see her apart from her parents. The public expected talent, beauty, drama, and access. What Bobbi Kristina needed most was space. But space is hard to find when fame follows a family everywhere. Her bond with Whitney was central to her life. When Whitney died in 2012, Bobbi Kristina was only 18, standing in the middle of grief that the whole world felt entitled to watch. Losing a mother is already devastating. Losing Whitney Houston as your mother in front of global media carried a different kind of pain. How does someone heal when the whole world keeps reopening the wound? After Whitney's death, Bobbi Kristina struggled. Reports of substance issues, emotional pain, and instability followed her. The tragedy reached its breaking point on January 31, 2015, when she was found unresponsive in a bathtub at her home in Georgia. The similarity to her mother's death made the moment almost unbearable. She remained in a coma and never recovered. On July 26, 2015, Bobbi Kristina Brown died at 22. Her official cause involved pneumonia with drugs and alcohol contributing to the condition that led to her death. Bobbi Kristina's story is heartbreaking because it feels like grief inherited another grief. She was born into music history but also into pressure addiction and public sorrow. Her life asks whether fame can ever protect a child born inside it. Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye was born in Washington, D.C., with a voice that seemed built for both romance and sorrow. Raised in church, he learned early how music could lift people beyond ordinary pain. But his home life was complicated, shaped by strict religion tension and a difficult relationship with his father. Those contradictions would later live inside his music, sensuality and spirituality, beauty and hurt, tenderness and unrest. At Motown, Marvin became one of the label's defining stars. Early hits like Pride and Joy and How Sweet It Is made him beloved. His duets with Tammy Terrell gave soul music some of its most radiant moments, including songs that still feel joyful decades later. But Marvin wanted more than polished hits. He wanted truth. That truth arrived with What's Going On. The album spoke about war, poverty, environmental damage, grief, and social responsibility. Motown executives were unsure at first, but Marvin pushed forward. The result became one of the most important albums ever recorded. He proved that soul music could be beautiful and political, intimate and universal. How many artists can turn personal pain into a question for the whole world? But Marvin's private life grew darker. He struggled with depression, drug use, financial strain, and unstable relationships. The father-son conflict that had haunted him for years became tragically final. On April 1, 1984, one day before his 45th birthday, Marvin Gaye was shot and killed by his father during an argument at the family home in Los Angeles. He was 44 years old. The horror of that ending remains almost impossible to process because Marvin had given the world music filled with love, longing, and humanity, only to die in a moment of family violence. Marvin Gaye's legacy is not defined by that final act. It is defined by a voice that asked, pleaded, seduced, comforted, and challenged. His music still sounds like a soul trying to heal a broken world. Black Rob. Black Rob was born Robert Ross, and his voice carried the weight of New York streets without needing decoration. Though born in Buffalo, he came up in Harlem, where the rhythm of survival shaped his music. His delivery was gravelly, worn, and unmistakable. When Black Rob rapped, he sounded like someone who had already lived through the consequences. His breakthrough came with Bad Boy Records, a label already tied to hip-hop dominance. But Black Rob did not sound like anyone else on the roster. His 2000 single Whoa became a massive street anthem powered by a beat that hit hard and a voice that cut through everything. The song was simple in the best way, immediate, memorable, and impossible to ignore. His debut album, Life Story, gave listeners more than a hit. It offered a portrait of struggle, crime, survival, regret, and reality. Black Rob did not romanticize the streets without showing the cost. That honesty made him resonate with fans who recognized the world he described. What happens to artists after the hit fades, but the pain keeps going? His later years were marked by health problems and financial hardship. Black Rob suffered from kidney disease and underwent dialysis. Public concern grew when videos showed him physically weakened and fellow artists tried to help. For fans, it was painful to see someone who had once sounded so powerful now fighting to survive. On April 17, 2021, Black Rob died from cardiac arrest related to his kidney disease. He was 52. His passing came shortly after the death of DMX, making it feel like hip-hop was losing too many wounded voices at once. Black Rob's legacy should not be reduced to struggle. He gave hip-hop one of its most recognizable records and one of its most textured voices. Whoa still hits but behind. It was a man whose life story deserved more care than the industry gave him. Tyree Jackson. Tyree Jackson's story was still in its first chapters. Born in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, and raised through a football journey that was anything but simple, he had to fight for every step toward the NFL. He did not travel a straight road from high school stardom to professional fame. His path included junior college major programs transfers, patience, and proof. That made his success feel earned. Kyrie played at Fort Scott Community College, then Alabama, where he stood among elite athletes and learned inside one of college football's most demanding environments. Later at Oregon, he truly showed what he could become. As a defensive back, he had size, confidence, and the competitive edge teams look for when they imagine a player's future. In the 2024 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings selected him in the 4th round. For Kyrie, that moment represented more than a contract. It was the opening of a dream, training camp rookie expectations, and a chance to prove himself at the highest level were all waiting. Coaches and fans saw potential. His life was moving toward the stage every football player hopes to reach. How painful is it when someone reaches the door of a dream but never gets to walk through it? On July 6, 2024, Kyrie Jackson was killed in a car crash in Prince George's County, Maryland, along with 2 former high school teammates. He was 24. The tragedy hit the sports world hard because he had barely begun his professional career. He was not a retired athlete looking back. He was a rookie looking forward. Kyrie's inclusion in this story is different from the musicians and actors before him, but the heartbreak is the same talent interrupted, promise unfinished, a future cut short without warning. His legacy lives in the people who knew his grind and in the dream that had finally started to come true. These losses still leave one uncomfortable question. Were these black icons destroyed by fame, violence, addiction, illness, or by an industry and society that often watched their pain too late? Some were taken suddenly, some battled private demons, and some had futures that were just beginning to unfold. But every name on this list left behind more than headlines. They left music, films, voices, memories, and warnings. Which death shocked you the most, and which legacy do you think deserves more respect today? Share your thoughts below and follow and subscribe to the Black Halo Files.